Boo. Hi, everybody. We are live. I had a bit of a punctuality relapse. I appreciate you all being patient with me, but you see what happened was I changed my mind about what I wanted to do this live on. We're still doing timeline, but we're doing a different kind of timeline. And I'm excited about it. All of that to say, hello, woman. Let's say hi to all our people. How's everybody doing? What day is it? Tuesday? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Oh my God, there's so many. Thumbnail. Yeah, this live is called Get In Loser. We're attacking the timeline. So that's what we're doing. Hi, Scott. Gull had a hearing, forbids the mention of time in the trial. It doesn't apply to the nexus. Time of death has to be determined. An investigation into why there is no time of death needs to be carried out. You would definitely hope and think that there would be. Sear says, avid researcher. It's hard, but must accept it. He is the missing piece of the puzzle. He? Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Jehovah. Yahweh. Whom? Who's he? Oh, Richard Allen. Perhaps. DB says, I've done a pass from lack of oxygen at the thumbnail. Dead. Where is the fourth juvenile witness statement? That's a good question. I would love to know that too. Judy. Hello, Judy. Judy says, I have to sneeze, y'all. Whew. Look, every time I sneeze, I knock my camera out of focus. That's how you know it's a good one. That's a powerful sneeze. Anyway, it'll come back. Judy says, why wasn't a time of death put on the autopsy report from the coroner? Is it because they died later than what they are saying? What are they hiding? I don't know, Judy. There's no time of death. The reports that we've seen, I don't know if they are the official ones. I think they are, but there's a lot of errors on them. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. There were these actually, I'm pretty sure that they can be accessed, or at least could be accessed. You know how ancestry.com is linked with Health and Human Services or Department of Health or whatever through various states, and you can actually request or access death certificates sometimes through Ancestry. And I'm pretty sure that we were able to pull the girls' death certificates. Is that what it? Not the autopsy reports, but the death certificates off of there. And yeah, fuck me running. They sure do have a lot of errors on them. And I don't even mean details of the crime. I mean one of the girls says she's married, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Hey, KO. You're absolutely right. There were so many errors. Yep. Bob. I told Bob that he started a movement, whether he likes it or not. We're attacking that timeline. And he's getting memed. Yeah, I got clapped yesterday for mouthing off. Allie liked it, though, which is really all that matters. Okay. Back to y'all. Hey, ACV. Good to see you. Yes, if anybody is in the path of Milton, anyone's in the path, let's call it Mullins. If anyone is in the path of Milton Hurricane, i.e., we're going to call it Mullen, because it's scarier sounding than Milton, please be careful. Please be safe. If you can and should evacuate, please do so. I don't know what we're going to do, y'all. We're going to be we're going to have to colonize Mars or some shit. Although I don't think the climate there is much better, so. I'm here. I'm queer. You meet both, sister. Hit the like on the way in. Oh, there's my link tree. I have been better about checking it. So if anyone is wants to email me, but just don't be weird. That's all I ask. I don't put an email up there, but they go to my email. So if you have a question or want to connect or whatever, you can do it on the link tree. And I think like all of the socials are on there. So that's cool. I mean, you can be weird, but don't be like scary weird. Be like, you know, be fun weird. Don't be scary weird. Tammy says, I'm here. I'm popping in and out, but I'll be listening. Last of my prep before Milton comes to visit. Tammy, please be safe. Oh my God. Everybody send good vibes. If you are a person who prays, pray to whom or whatever you pray to. If you're a person that doesn't pray, then just send good vibes and energy to Tammy and everybody else who is in the path of the storms. Yes, we will all be thinking of you. Hello, Ems. Mi amor. BGOG. I like that. Welcome. We've heard so much about you. We've been looking for you. Hey, Cleveland. Every time I see Cleveland, I think of the color purple. I think of her good heart and her kindness. And then I think of Timothy Chalamet and our very own DB and Tillamy Chalamet getting into like a fisticuff battle. I don't know what to tell you. I can't get that out of my head. Mudbug. Hey, trial will be. Objection. Badgering the witness. Sustained. It sucks that we really, like, I'm having to accept we really might not be able to bear witness to this thing. I'm still not accepting it yet. I'm not there yet. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the buzzing, the exchanges on Twitter, but that we had today with some of our friends. But yeah, definitely would love to see this exchange or one like it. Hey, Thomas Scott. Strike from the record. Sometime Thursday is what I heard about Milton hitting. Okay, everybody be safe. The timeline right now. I can't see what that emoji. Oh, he's nervous. Yeah, that's the timeline. Hey, Judge Jessica. I was about to ask if that was you, and now I see that it's not, but I was going to be like, you're beautiful. And I'm sure you are, but yeah, I don't think that's you, but you're still beautiful. Hey, Electric Weircat, Mr. Fiend. Fiend, did you get more video than the one you posted? I love the one you posted. I'll share it here in a second. I shared it on R&M, and I said, look at that, bitches. Them's fish. Greetings, Criminal Network. I can see you. We can see you. You are seen. Your inadmissible friend. Hey, Criminal Network. You made your way onto a troll channel. You and me, kid. Coming in hot. Sticking together. BFFs navigating the harsh waters of YouTube. Of course, Yellow was on there too. Rick Snay, the usual, the usual band of hooligans. Hi, Just Deb. Nice to see you. There's me telling a fib. I did a fib. Christine DC, my dear. Is Ange okay? There's so many different ways to interpret that question. I did schedule this for 7:30, but then I changed it to 8. And then I was like, I wonder if nobody got the notification because I didn't tell anyone. I just changed it. So, but I am here and I'm great. I feel good. I'm doing okay. I hope everybody here is okay. Hi, Kelly. Welcome. Ange is okay, but his mouth okay. Always. Rebecca Ann. Hello, Rebecca Ann. Hello, Hot Pocket. I just ate. I did eat before this live, ladies and gentlemen. And non-binary, non-gender conforming friends. What do we feel, the female identifying individuals here, how do we feel about ladies when people call us hey, ladies? I don't even necessarily mean in a derogatory, like disparaging way, just like a neutral being addressed as ladies. I have mixed feelings about it. Let's unpack that later. Hi, Luke. Bob Siegel better not be the fucking here. Y'all were killing me today. And then we had, I will say, I've been really impressed with all of us. I think that we have been respectful. I think that we public facing. I think that we have been gracious relatively. I think that we are disagreeing and challenging arguments, not people. We're keeping it all above board. I'm really impressed with us. That's a really good way I think that's the best way to have discourse and be heard. It's a lot better than when I, all caps ranting and, Imagine if Donnie blocked me after all that. Imagine if I didn't grovel for a second chance to be on my best behavior. I would be without Donnie in my life. This is a scary thought. Should I let DB know that his ancient Pop-Tarts didn't make me sick? I don't think he can give me COVID through the device. I don't know. He's been known to do a witchcraft. Thank you, Criminal Network. Good to be here. Love R&M and the fam here. I'm always in the background listening, but joining in more now. Judy, I have loved to see you engaging and participating. So happy that you're here. I posted the video just reading off Kathy Allen's statement earlier today because it fucked me up last night. After we got off the live, I just kind of sat here and reflected for a minute, and I just kept thinking, like, the grace, my God. Imagine your husband going through what she's been going through and to literally say with malice towards no one, girl, that's saintly. And I believe her too, she's conducted herself in a way that suggests to me that she really believes that, that's who she is as a person. She's been very gracious and very strong. Thank you everyone for the comments that you've left. All of that to say, a lot of people have been commenting and participating more in the chat and saying things like, I used to lurk. We love lurkers. Lurkers are welcome. I am never going to pressure or encourage anybody to do anything other than lurk because the internet's weird. People are weird. However, you are always welcome to participate in the chat. No one will judge you. And if they do, I have some really, I have some mods that love to clap. Last night when or the other night when I was like, mods, if you want to start blocking alts, you can. Woman said, what did you say, woman? Coming out of my cage? And then it was boom, 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 boom. All that to say, you're safe here. Participate if you want, but even if you lurk, I'm happy you're here. Where is Donnie? He had a busy day today. He's been really cranking out some news, If anybody follows Donnie on Twitter, send him a word of encouragement. Tell him that you appreciate him. Share his profile. He's a good egg. If you don't follow Donnie on Twitter, I believe that his Twitter profile is linked in the description of this live. So make sure you go follow him. And if you don't have Twitter, I support that. Even though I like it. I don't like it, but I like it. Everyone. Ems would like to announce that Brazil will be out of Twitter jail soon. Ems and the entire nation of Brazil has been in Twitter jail because the megalomaniac himself, who single-handedly just about destroyed one of the most successful utilized social media platforms in the world, decided he wanted to be a bitch. So last night I read this and I read this comment last night, mumbling hello from behind my gag. And my mind immediately thought like, oh, a gag order. I don't think that's what Christine meant. We support either type of gag, but I watched it back this morning on my walk and I was like, that's funny. I had to be informed. I felt like I was on the back of the bus again. What's that mean? Back of the bus is traumatic. If y'all have kids, you better not let those kids sit in the back of the bus. That's where all the kids do a cuss. Criminal Network says, glad to see you opening up, Judy. This is the best group on YouTube. I love everybody here. And the creators that, we fuck with because we all just kind of bounce around and hang out. I saw somebody post on Reddit. They were like, I want to watch R&M, but the lives are too long. I don't have the attention span. And a friend of ours commented below and was like, honestly, it's because they all have ADHD and they just love hanging out with each other. I was like, it's so true. It really is true. It's like, it's like the closest. I love that, Christine. I misunderstood, but now I understand and I still love it. And then somebody left another comment on a video and said, I really like this channel. The ADHD of your streams can be difficult. I recognize it. I feel you. You and me both. I'm really going to try to stay focused tonight once I get through saying hi to everybody, because I know it can be a lot. Post-punk mama. Hey, y'all, not making dinner today. About to do some renegade sewing. What is renegade sewing? I would love to hear what that is. Christine says, time for journalists to start being journalists. Yeah, I have a little call to action for us, even though everybody's been doing so awesome. Like, just the amount of attention and awareness that y'all are bringing to the table and to the media. It's just like awesome. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know how loud that was for y'all, but okay, get it moving, Ange. Who did I miss? I said hi to Luke. Jojo, hey Jojo. Good to see you, friend. I don't know what Operation Spotlight is, Christine. I'd love to hear it. It would be hilarious if we pretended to never hear Bob say this for months and pretended it was. Honestly, that's funny. That's really funny. Be like, Bob, you've been saying it for months? You sure? Aloud? He has been saying it for months. Missy, you're not late. You'll never be late as long as I'm around. So, hi Jenny. Hello, Mwadang. Mwadang. Mandy baby, Hansy baby, Mwadang. I hope I'm saying it right. Here's my time checker. I love Fiend. I love him. He really just sometimes. Fiend, maybe later you want to come on, you can. If not, that's fine. I don't care. Well, Ange said 8, then 8 minutes, then 1 minute. Hey, Cleveland. Hello, the royal wheat. Anyone else pissy? Tor? I'm not pissy, but I like that. I like that energy. I think that anger is a good motivating emotion. We can unpack that later. Why is everyone so pissy? Oh, the media. Yeah, fuck them. Mullins is also the one that told the fire chief to check off the bridge area after the 4th blanket search of the area. Why did they think? Here's what I can imagine them justifying that with. We didn't want people to fall off the bridge. Okay. Donald. Hey, Donnie. There he is. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to you. This comment is probably from, yeah, it's literally from like 20 minutes ago. Hey, Donnie, welcome. Donnie is our guest. Donnie infiltrated. He infiltrated the impermeable wall of whatever the fuck this is. We're so happy about it. Missy said, I'm always pissy. Pissy Missy. Okay, I'm going to just go. Oh, there's Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. Hey, Tommy. Hi, Elena. Nice to see you. Lip color reveal. Yeah, it's chapstick. So I go back and forth. I have this, like, it's just like Vaseline, but I don't like to use it because it like gets all over my finger. I guess I could use like a Q-tip, but who's got the time to do that? And then I just have like the OG. It's more of a compulsion than a need, but you know. Stop it, Ems. You stop it. I wish that we could all just hang out. I mean, this will suffice. I'll take it, and I'm grateful for it. But imagine, we'd probably all get arrested. Never mind. Let's not do that. Gotta be honest. Didn't expect Bob to clap back. Brother shot from the hip. I imagine that the level of frustration, because we're giving the media a hard time. Like, I have been giving the media a hard time. However, I am certainly aware that there are people like Bob and people like Donnie and people that we don't even know about probably that have been actually trying to make some progress and get something like Judge Gold to like make some kind of a concession or negotiate, and hitting wall after wall after wall. Cannot imagine how frustrating that is. And then you get a bunch of little assholes like us on Twitter like, the media sucks. It just comes with the territory. The media on the whole sucks. The individuals in the media that are fighting really hard for the same things that we are, access, we fuck with y'all. We have your back. But don't stop. Please. We have 6 days. 6 days is not 0 days. Do not let up. That's not how things get done. Let's go. Okay. Local news has been pushing the trial. I think Fox 59 is doing a special. Yeah. I'm always like, I never know. I always get so like, I get like tummy ache when I think about watching a Delphi special, a Delphi, really anything Delphi, because I just never know. I'm like, is this going to be really great or is this going to be really fucking bad? And when I say bad, I mean like, are they going to be doing a misinformation or are they going to be doing a good information? You never know. What up, DB? Where's DB? DB, did you block me? Am I shadow banned? Bob Siegel, I don't know if Bob Mott is going to go to trial. He mentioned he was going to try. So I imagine he will, at least for part of it. Hello, my love. LD is one of the best people that I know. She's just, I'm so happy you're here. No time of death on autopsy report because the Carroll County doesn't have a real coroner. You're not wrong. Hi, Gina, the good Baudette. Yeah. Fish gonna swim. Bird gonna fly. Ange gonna do a tardy. Them, you know? But it sounds like that situation has been resolved and it actually forced an opportunity. It's not an opportunity if it's forced, but it forced Kathy to address the really harmful rumors, and we got to hear from her for the first time in 2 years. That was really important to me. Oh, Bob Siegel. Yeah, Bob Siegel clapped. Different Bob. Both Bob's been clapping. I like it. Hey, Monkey Doo, it's from the conversation. Oh, it's from the conversion software between state and ancestry. Yes, thank you. I knew it had something to do with that. Thank you for... Yeah, they're very common. And I also was told that it's like, even in like, it's like check a box, and then when it like system to system, it can like do a glitch. I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure that, you know, it happens, but I will not be radioed because I will not be radioed because people will turn it off. What do you mean? I don't think so. I would love to hear what y'all have to say. Hello, Kokomo. Hello, Skeptic Curiosity. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Jen. I'm trying to go fast, but I just wanted to say hi to everybody. Autopsies were done in Terre Haute, like goat. I always have to think. Terre Haute, like goat. Terre Haute by Dr. Kaur. He's experienced enough. One would think he could get arranged for time of death via pancakes. Yeah. I definitely believe that at least something, you know. I don't know though, like with how they're trying to present the crime flow. It's like, what if the time of death can only, like, with relative certainty, with a range, right, of like 3 to 5 hours. Like, okay, in the scheme of things, that's pretty good, but like as it relates to this crime, like that's still not great. There's definitely a mild uproar. We will take mild uproar. You know, in the context of what it's been like the past 7 years, we will definitely take it. Can we start the timeline with that morning's first contact? Yes. I do want to do a timeline of the 13th and 14th. So yes, we're going to come back to that. I have a slightly different timeline I want to talk about today because I didn't finish what I wanted to do with the other, because there's a lot. But if anyone is interested in helping, you know, or if anyone has really like important, poignant timeline points or, you know, suggestions or whatever, so that we can cover that as thoroughly and accurately as possible, let me know. Send me all your things. Because I don't know. I'm late to this party. I came to this case so late. I get all the witnesses confused. Like, I need all the help I can get. Raphael Webb, will the deposition transcripts be made public during or after trial? I'm interested in seeing Liggett's, Holman, and Leesenby. Me too. I don't know. I imagine that we'll hear about the depositions throughout the trial, but I don't know that if probably the transcripts would come after, I imagine. Jody's going to be like, I'm so busy. The fish video was fantastic. Silly people. You can see them with your eyes. Yeah. Your eyes are better than the camera. Yeah. Yes. Hi, What a Glass. If I haven't seen you in here before, welcome. And if I have, welcome back. I'm so sorry, Donnie. Do we need to put a mail stop on your Twitter momentarily to let you catch your breath? I probably call people ladies. I'm old though. Well, see, I don't mind it. I went through a phase. I think the pendulum of how obnoxious I'm going to be on any given day or time or season of my life, it swings, and then it balances out. There was like a movement of like, don't call us ladies. You don't know that we want to be called ladies. Now I just don't give a fuck. I mean, if you're going to be an ass, like it's obvious if someone's trying to be disparaging. If somebody just doesn't, that's what they say. It's like, okay, no big deal. Anyway, okay. I'm not going to finish saying hi to people. I'm sorry if I missed you. Say hi again. Hi, Goblin. Hi, Stephen Curry. Hi, Roxanne. I did miss you. I got you now. See, I don't want to do that. Hi, Kira. If I missed anyone else, Truth Seeker, hello. I don't know. Probably doing a psyop of some kind. Hi, Judge Jessica. Okay. Yeah, if I missed you, let me know and we'll come back and we'll pick back up. But I want to talk about timeline. Specifically, I want to talk about suspects. I'd love to listen to you talk and read the chat. Okay, good. That's good. I imagine if people hate it, they'll just mute me or not watch it. So, hi, Michael Miller. Welcome. Hi, Heather Brown. Welcome. Marianne. Hudis. Kay. Hi, Kay. Why do some people come here that idolize the clown liar town crier? He's never said a true word. Now he claims to have a video chat with RA. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Sweetheart. Listen, sweetheart. Yeah, that's not my favorite either. So we're gonna watch some YouTube clips together. They're not long, they're short, but we're gonna do an activity together. That's okay with y'all. An activity. Hi, Al on the Prowl. Hi, Melissa Wildcard. Nice to see you. I'm a sucker for a Southern accent. Really? Hi, Lara. The lurks and ADHD say hi. Toots. Hi, right back. Hey, support with Steffa. Welcome. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. This is going to be called Delphi Investigation Timeline of Bad Dudes. All right. So we're going to come on over here and we are going to start. Nope. If y'all at any point lose volume or lose sound or it gets glitchy, let me know. But here we go.
Daniel Nations is sitting in a Colorado jail tonight, and he could soon be in even more trouble. Nations is already facing charges for menacing and a felon in possession of a weapon. And prosecutors could file new charges against him at any time. Right now, they're being tight-lipped on what those charges might be.
And back here at home tonight, police are now looking at Nations as a person of interest in the murders of Libby German and Abby Williams.
Rich Van Wyk found a woman who spoke to Nations just days after the Delphi murders. And Rich tells us investigators in the Delphi case are in Colorado tonight. Rich?
They got there, we think, this afternoon. From what I'm told, Daniel Nations is now #1 on a list of potential suspects detectives want to interview and know more about. We learned more about Nations from a former friend. She took him in, helped him out, and spoke with Nations just a couple of days after the murders.
Every time we would start walking up our sidewalk, we'd be like, here comes depressing Daniel.
Daniel Nations became, according to Roxy Bortner, a close family friend.
He always had a sad story, always talking about how terrible his life was.
She says they had no idea Nation's life included so many crimes. The 31-year-old accumulated arrests and convictions for drugs, alcohol, assault, domestic violence, indecent exposure, and other crimes. He is a registered sex offender in at least 3 states.
And he was pretty much living under the underpass, sleeping in my son's car. He never really had a place to stay.
Until the family found him one. Was he ever scary or violent?
No, not when he was at my house.
Delphi teenagers Abigail Williams and Liberty German disappeared February 13th. The best friends were found murdered the next day, Valentine's Day. Bortner remembers seeing Nations.
He come over talking depressed because his wife wasn't talking to him and everything. It was just a couple of days after Valentine's Day.
Right after the murders in Delphi.
Yes.
Was there any strange behavior at all?
No, he was acted just like he always acts.
A month later, she says, Nations broke into her home. They parted ways.
Asked me if I'd come and work in the office.
The number one question for detectives, likely, where was Nations the day of the murders? If he talks, they'll go to work trying to confirm any alibi using witnesses, cell phone records, charge card purchases, and maybe even security camera videos. John?
All right, thank you. And they're looking at DNA as well?
Well, there is the possibility of DNA. It could already be in a database because of his previous convictions.
Okay. Can y'all see this? It's probably a little small, but. Okay. Daniel Nation. So July 17th, ISP releases their composite of Old Guy sketch. July 18th, an investigation begins into Daniel Nation's whereabouts because he failed to register his new address upon checking out of his motel May 12th. He is a registered sex offender and is required to register anytime he moves. So they issue a warrant for his arrest in July. In August, the El Paso County Sheriff in Colorado receives complaints about menacing in the Mount Herman area involving a man who was threatening bicyclists with a hatchet. So we've got a hatchet. Witnesses say the culprit was driving a red Chevrolet compact sedan. So we've got red Chevrolet compact sedan. My goodness. With Indiana plates. So he is arrested September 2017 on weapons violations. He had a broken taillight and matched the description of a vehicle involved in menacing earlier. They found a hatchet and a, oh my, 22 caliber. That doesn't sound like a 40 caliber firearm. That's okay. Hi, Kathy. I'm not looking at the chat as I'm doing this, so if I, if I'm ignoring you, I'll. It's not on purpose. Hi, Gritty. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Chris. Okay, back to this. So, all right, interesting. And DNA, don't know. Did I miss anything? This was in September 2017. Got it. Next. Who is next on our list of bad dudes? I'm pretty sure next up is this is from nope. I think Thomas Bruce is first, right? 2018? No. Yes. Okay. Next up. I'm so bad about this. I forgot, y'all. Trigger warning. Some of the descriptions of the next few clips involve essay, child abuse, violence. So, and they're, just take care of yourself. If you need to mute this part, please mute it. Sorry, I should have said that before. I always forget. Oh. No sound on the video. Okay. Can you hear me, though? Because if you can't hear me, try sharing your screen again. Okay. I will do that. Hi, aloha. You can hear me, but not the video. Got it. So we're going to try again. Well, then that's good. Then my trigger warning was just on time. So trigger warning. Let's try that again.
8 at 10 continues.
Good.
Investigators working the Delphi double homicide investigation have been in contact with police in St. Louis after a woman there was killed in a religious supply store. But officers in both Missouri and Indiana say it's way too early to make a connection possibly between the cases. 53-year-old Thomas Bruce of Imperial, Missouri, is charged with 17 counts, including murder, sodomy, and attempted sodomy in the St. Louis case. Now, according to court documents, Bruce forced 3 women into a back room at the Catholic supply store. He was armed with a gun and told the women to strip. When one woman would not comply with his demands, investigators say Bruce shot her in the head. Officials say he then sexually assaulted the other woman before Bruce's arrest today. And because of what police in St. Louis call some similarities, officers reached out to the murderers about the murders in the Delphi of those 2 teenage girls in February of 2017. But again, they say it's too soon to know if there are any possible connections. According to St. Louis police, they looked at a couple of other cases for connections as well.
We are learning disturbing.
I want to go back. Did y'all lose my audio again or no? Is it okay? All right, I think this is an old notification. So I want to watch part of that video again because I am sure at some point I knew about Thomas Bruce, but there's something that I learned for the first time when I watched that, and it made my blood run cold. And I'm going to play it again. Hey, Shay, so glad you're here. I want to play that again, and I want to see if anything jumps out at us. Because this guy sucks, by the way. He's still alive. I believe he's a serial killer. I believe he is officially has killed 2 or more victims. He's in prison for life. He's a real piece of fucking garbage trash. But listen to what he's been arrested and charged and convicted for.
Investigation have been in contact with police in St. Louis after a woman there was killed in a religious supply store. But officers in both Missouri and Indiana say it's way too early to make a connection possibly between the cases. 53-year-old Thomas Bruce of Imperial, Missouri, is charged with 17 counts, including murder, sodomy, and attempted sodomy in the St. Louis case. Now, according to court documents, Bruce forced 3 women into a back room at the Catholic supply store. He was armed with a gun and told the women to strip. When one woman would not comply with his demands, investigators say Bruce shot her in the head. Officials say he then sexually assaulted the other woman before Bruce's arrest today. And because of what police in St. Louis call some similarities, officers reached out to the murderers about the murders in the Delphi of those 2 teenage girls in February of 2017. But again, they say it's too soon to know if there are any possible connections, according to St. Louis police.
He looks very pensive. He's thinking very hard. Hi, Crimson Clover. All right. Anything that stuck out to y'all in that clip? How about what do we think about this? So, religious store, yep. Good post-punk mom. I didn't even come to So there's a religious component, right? So we've got, I mean, I don't know if there's or not, but I think there is. So we've got, when was this? November 2018. Weapon. Obviously firearm. Did they say what kind of firearm Thomas Bruce used? Hi, Matt. Oh, Matt, I'm so glad you're here. He used a gun and he's a piece of shit. Totally agree. Let's see. I guess we'll come back. If anybody is wanting to do a little side scavenger hunt while we're doing this, if you know what kind of firearm Thomas Bruce used to murder that woman in the supply store, let me know. If not, we'll get it after. So he used a firearm. We don't know what kind of vehicle. I'm sure we can find it. DNA. Don't know. Oh wait, Thomas Bruce. No, Paul Etter. Okay, I'm getting my pieces of shit bad dudes mixed up. Thomas Bruce is still alive. DNA. Don't know if anything about DNA. Yes. So this is interesting. Michael Catt was convinced that Thomas Bruce was BG. I'm more convinced about Thomas Bruce than I am anybody else that we've got. That's who Catt thought it was in the beginning. I can see why. Mary Ann says it was a .22 caliber. Thank you, Mary Ann. That's Thomas Bruce, right? Smith and Wesson. Hold on, Fiend. I can't see anything. Smith and Wesson. M&P 5. Right. Rifle. He killed him with a rifle? Okay. So we've got. Hi, Polygraph. That's just horrible. Okay. Did I forget anything? So this is interesting to me. There were some similarities, so they reached out to the Delphi investigators. Well, we know now that investigators in Delphi believe that the killer or killers forced the girls off the bridge, down the hill to wherever they were taken at gunpoint. So that would certainly be a similarity. Hey, Snarky Sass. Thank you, woman. I'll put that in there. He was obsessed with him. Yeah, I can see why this guy's terrifying. He's terrifying. So that's a similarity. The other thing that I've wondered, and I know we've probably discussed this before on the channel, and again, trigger warning. If there was one killer or multiple killers, I still feel that it's likely that the girls undressed, right? That's likely, unless, of course, they were killed before that, but it doesn't appear that they were, based off of what we've been told from, you know, the Franks memo and the evidence discussions at the hearings. I don't believe that they were necessarily clothed when they were killed. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility if that's a similarity too. Because if there's no, you know, usable DNA, it might be because so that's like a very high contact, right? Undressing someone's very high contact. You wouldn't want to do that if you're trying to be, you know, forensically aware. So I wonder if that is another similarity. It's terrifying. The other thing that we've heard from the beginning, rumors, and like God only knows what happened that day, not like actual God, but like who knows what happened that day. But there's been rumors about, you know, Libby was strong-willed and a protector, and, you know, what if she wouldn't comply or was, you know, said something obstinate and defiant as you know, as one would, and that, you know, pissed off rich guy and he killed her. I mean, it sounds like that's another similarity. Does that make I hope I'm making sense. I'm not trying to speculate as to this person's involvement. I'm just saying that seems like a similar MO. He used a 9mm. Okay, so he killed them. So this murder with Thomas Bruce was probably, yeah, he killed her with a 9mm, and then they collected a bunch of guns from his probably person. Okay, so it's actually 9mm. That feels more likely versus a rifle just for this crime, but we can, you know. Is Travis Evans on your list, Ange? No. Who's Travis Evans? But I'll put him on there. Okay. So just based on what we have, these two shade of a no, I didn't oh, okay. Okay. I know I once upon a time I remember hearing about that woman. So the investigators first are interested enough in Daniel Nations that they travel to Colorado. Okay, that's Lindsay, I think that's where I've heard it from. So Delphi investigators travel from Indiana to Colorado to talk to Daniel Nations. So they believe there's enough there that it warrants a in-person to travel and in-person visit Daniel Nations, and he remained, you know, a person that was kind of discussed and in the news, connected loosely to Delphi for months and months. I mean, it wasn't probably until, February 2018, they're asking Doug Carter about Daniel Nations. And I think that was really the first time anyone definitively said, that's not someone we're interested in right now. So Daniel Nations was young. He was in his 30s, and I'll get his actual age in a second. He used a hatchet in this crime. So a hatchet is not a box cutter, certainly, right? So that's a very different weapon than what we're talking about now in Delphi. He was also driving a very different vehicle than what we want to believe the accused Delphi murderer was driving. A red Chevrolet compact sedan. That's certainly not a black Ford Focus. It's not even a purple PT Cruiser. Oh, and another thing, the firearm that they collected from his vehicle was not a .40 caliber firearm. It was a .22 caliber rifle. So interesting. The next suspect or person of interest, very different from Daniel Nations. He didn't have a bladed weapon that we know of. He used a firearm to threaten and intimidate and murder. Hi, Barbie. He had a 9mm. That's not a .40 cal. And he sexually assaulted the women prior. Okay, so there we've got two very different persons of interest. But the Delphi investigators are interested in both of them. Okay, good to know. Moving right along. I'm sorry, that one took a minute because I really wanted to focus on that part about forcing the women at gunpoint to ordering the women at gunpoint, period. Next up is, I think, Paul Etter.
And tonight at 11, investigators in Delphi now looking at a man accused of heinous crimes in Tippecanoe County. They want to see if this guy is responsible for the murders of Libby German and Abby Williams.
Our Emily Longnecker spoke to the Carroll County Sheriff about when Paul Etter was first put on their radar. Investigators in the Delphi case are trying to figure out if this man, 55-year-old Paul Etter, is responsible for the murders of Libby German and Abby Williams.
I would just caution folks on not, again, getting ramped up on just one certain individual because of his recent attention, because of what he's done.
Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lesenby says investigators requested autopsy and DNA results from Etter after he killed himself last month during a standoff with police in Boone County. At the time, Etter was charged with raping a woman investigators say he kidnapped while she was changing her tire on the side of the road in Tippecanoe County. According to investigators, Lebanon police spotted Etter in Boone County and tried to pull him over. That led to a chase and a several-hour-long standoff that ended with Etter's suicide.
We are not in a position where we're saying, this guy's moved up on the priority list or anything like that. He's just, we continue to follow into him as we would anyone else.
Carroll County Sheriff says investigators were already looking at Etter because his name had been called into the tip line set up for the case. After his suicide, investigators asked for his autopsy and DNA results as a way to either make him a suspect or rule him out. The sheriff cautions jumping to any conclusions.
Let's let this, our investigators obviously do their job and play this out and follow it out as far as we can and see where it takes us.
So, Emily, any timeline out there?
Well, the Carroll County Sheriff says they really don't have an exact timeline of when they'll have any definitive answers about Etter. He says they could know more tomorrow, or it could be a few months from now. He just cautions against jumping to any conclusions right now, though.
So it's a waiting game.
It's a waiting game. It's a wait and see for sure.
All right, Emily, thank you so much. Well, just last week, the families of Abby and Libby announced they finally raised enough money to build a park in their honor. The Abby and Libby Memorial Park will have an amphitheater, community center, 3 baseball fields, 2 playgrounds, picnic areas, and walking paths. The state matched the first $50,000 in donation, and tonight they're trying to raise another $15,000 before the August 14th deadline to build restrooms. If you'd like to donate, we posted the link for you on WTHR.com. Also on our website tonight, you'll find the email address. That's where you can send tips to police. Remember to include things like the suspect's name, age, description, and any connection to.
I don't know how to turn the volume up on the YouTube video. And I don't want to blast anyone. I know there's a discrepancy in volume. So I'm going to try and not scream. Okay. So Paul Etter, 55. So we've got 30s, 53, 55. This was in July 2019. Paul Etter kidnapped a woman who was changing her tire on the side of the road and sexually assaulted, raped her. And after he fled the scene, and after hours-long standoff by suicide, I believe he shot himself, right? Yes. He didn't say anything about what type of gun, but probably I imagine a handgun. The investigators asked for his autopsy results and asked for his DNA, definitively asked for his DNA. So that's interesting. Why would they need DNA if they didn't have DNA to compare it to? They just want us to not talk about the DNA, I guess. What was he driving? Wasn't he driving a... pickup truck. Oh, he stole a vehicle first. Okay. Red pickup truck. Oh, okay. So another red vehicle, but it was stolen. So stolen. That doesn't really help us, but that's okay. And what else? DNA. Yes. SA. Yes. Hey, Precinct. Yes, they did talk about DNA, and now it's like all of a sudden they're like, no, DNA? Don't talk about DNA. Okay. Next up.
And tonight at 11, investigators in Delphi now looking at a man accused.
I already shared that one. This one.
We are learning disturbing new details. A missing girl was found hurt in her neighbor's home.
Court documents accuse that neighbor of forcing the little girl into his basement and then assaulting her.
Our Dustin Grove joins us tonight with what investigators say happened and the message to parents everywhere.
On a normally calm park court in Lafayette,
it's quiet. It's quiet. Our kids run around here and play.
The yellow tape is still up around this home. Police parked to secure the scene and neighbors on edge after the discovery inside.
And we're just sitting here going, oh my God, when we found out that there was a little girl
Inside.
Inside. We were totally shocked. We're like, oh my God.
That 9-year-old girl's mother reported her missing Monday night when she didn't come home.
Again, just a reminder to everybody, this is really, really trigger warning. This is horrific subject matter, horrific details. It involves essay of children and abuse. So please guard yourself. Take care of yourself. If you need to not listen for a minute.
Officers arrived, began looking through the neighborhood, and eventually they ended up here at this house, not far away. Police say they talked to the man who lives here, then went in and found the missing girl with visible signs of injury, including bruising on her body and an injury on her lower leg consistent with a dog bite. The girl went to the hospital, and 42-year-old James Chadwell II went to jail, arrested for criminal confinement.
We do believe that she was being held against her will.
According to court documents, Chadwell is accused of forcing the girl into the basement where he assaulted her and threatened to kill her if she screamed or told anyone.
There are people out there that will victimize children, and this is a perfect example of this happening. So take the time to talk to your children, educate them.
Back on Park Court.
That's heartbreaking.
Neighbors hurting for that little girl and her family, and for their neighborhood too.
But I tell my kids, don't go outside unless it's an adult out here with you. I don't trust too many people, and this is the exact reason why.
Family members are telling us that 9-year-old girl is still in the hospital tonight, and at last check, the suspect was still in jail. Police also arrested him on 2 outstanding warrants. Investigators in Delphi are looking into what could be a new lead in the 2017 killings of Abby Williams and Libby German, but they caution this is very early in the process. We told you last week about James Chadwell. He was arrested in Lafayette after prosecutors say he kidnapped a 9-year-old girl, sexually assaulted her, and threatened to kill her. The Carroll County Sheriff telling us that case caught their eye and they are, quote, looking into him. Investigators are not sharing many details about the investigation. They know any sign of progress on this case is big news. Libby's sister, Kelsey German, tweeted reminding the public there have been thousands of tips just like this one in this case, and she cautions against getting too invested in a potential suspect without more proof. If you have any information that could help find this killer, you're asked to call the toll-free number 844-459-50.
That one is really hard to listen to. He's an absolute fucking monster. But so Chadwell is interesting because Chadwell is interesting because he had a pretty extensive criminal history. I believe he was pretty nomadic. He was living, couch surfing at one point. Wasn't he living under a bridge? So in this instance, he didn't use a weapon that we know of, although he did We don't know anything about his vehicle. Not relevant, it would appear. We don't know anything about DNA. Not confirmed, but likely. And so what's interesting about Chadwell is that he targeted a child that lived in his neighborhood. So he was hunting in his own turf, and that's pretty brazen and erratic. And DB's not here, so I get to say words like disorganized, right? That's just a pretty erratic thing to do. Truth seeker. So here, let me send you. Because I'll forget if I don't do it right now. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. So there's like a contact form on here. And then if you reach out to me there, we can, I'll get back to you and we can email back and forth. Hey, Dan. You'll have to ask him, Fiend. Okay. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, and I did, so I forgot someone, in my opinion, crucial when it comes to POIs, and that's Gabe Ellis. And I know Matt is in the chat here. Thank you, Fiend. Matt actually, I know, has done a lot of research on Gabe Ellis and kind of his motley crew and connections, and there's some really scary, Kokomo crew, some really scary. But what's interesting about Gabe Ellis, I thought you meant the storm, Dan, but you mean the trial. Yes, to both things, though. Everyone, just please take care of yourselves. So what's interesting about Gabe Ellis compared to, and Garrett Kurtz, thank you. So Garrett Kurtz was, he spells his name wonky. I'll add to this. What I really wanted, Gabe Ellis was way before Garrett Kurtz. Gabe Ellis was right the same day and days after the murders. So Gabe Ellis, Garrett Kurtz, Julian Powell. Oh, I remember that. That was like right before Anthony Shots, right? Because Matt Sully and I experienced the Julian Powell saga together, I think. Yeah, R.I.P. Karina. Yeah, Steffa, you mentioned something earlier. If you can, if you're not comfortable, that's fine too. But I would love to ask you some questions if you can contact me or tell me how to contact you. No pressure. Julian Powell was using Libby's Twitter. Julian Powell has a picture. He's got some weird pictures and posts, and he was in the area the day of or day before, and taking Google images and stuff. And he posted this picture with this bright yellow rope, which is like whatever, and that's not in itself suspicious, but given that what we know now about what was left at the crime scene, it's like there's just I used to say this is very crass, obviously. I used to say, though, like when it comes to Delphi, it's like swing a dick, hit a bridge guy. There's so many potential, good suspects that have come up. It's terrifying. Yes, I remember this. Hey, big fish. It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. El Pezote. Didn't don't even have the wolf pack on here. Who's the wolf pack? Fiend? That's why we're doing this, because perfect. Thank you, Truth Seeker. That's what I was just saying. A small place full of creeps. Yeah, for sure. So the best way, Steffa, is to just use the contact form on the link tree. It's just like a little box you just type in, and then I'll email you back. The Wolfpack Motorcycle Club. Thank you. That was right before Fiend. 4 people had court on February 13th in the morning for beating a man. Is that this wolf pack gang? So this is the meth bikers court on. Where were they in court? Was this Carroll County or nearby? So what I really kind of wanted us to like, I wanted to review just how many different bouts was the this was Carroll County? Hmm. This place is the fucking pit of hell. But thank you, True Grit. I would love that. 9 a.m. So 2 defendants. Oh my God. So this occurred on, y'all are great. This is why I want to do this, because one of them was the nephew of Curtis Fouts, and he still presided, or no? So this smorgasbord of suspects, just the ones that are here, and I know there's like so many more, but just the ones that we've already talked about today, literally probably a dozen at this point. Investigators were interested in all of the ones we've named. We know objectively they were interested in them enough to either travel to a different state to investigate, to request their DNA, to talk about them, at least loosely, to the media. They were interested in these suspects. These suspects, though all terrifying, are so fucking dissimilar in so many ways. And what I mean by dissimilar, I'm not talking about like, in a profiling sense. I'm talking about the weapons that they used, the acts of violence that they committed, the vehicles that they drove, the firearms and caliber of firearms that they possessed and the investigators seized, their ages, their physical characteristics could not have been more dissimilar. I mean, they're all white Indiana men, but like, aside from that, to me, this just further kind of highlights that the Delphi Unified Command Task Force, the Delphi investigation, they didn't know what the fuck they were looking for. And this is a really good explanation for a lot of this too, because if they're looking for one person, then it would be relatively easy, we would think, for them to say, okay, well, that's not, that person used a different firearm, or that person used a different weapon, or like there's ways that you would prioritize and exclude or include, right? exclusion or inclusion criteria. But if they are not sure if it was one person, if it was potentially a group, then yeah, you might be interested in various different kinds of violent men. But I just can't believe how much investigation was conducted. But everything that the task force has done in the Delphi case to me just screams of reactive. Reactive. They've had no idea from the beginning how to conduct a homicide investigation, period. Let alone a double homicide investigation, let alone the double homicide of 2 children. They had no idea what they were doing. They had no idea who they were looking for, what they were looking for. And it kind of, to me, seems like they were just hoping that somebody, and Ives even said this in an interview. He said, unfortunately, what is likely to happen is that this person or persons is going to commit another crime somewhere else, and that's going to be the thing that ties him to Delphi. And so they're just like waiting for any news of a violent man killing people, white bridge guy looking ish, right, man. And they're like, okay, well, we got to look into it. And like, okay, good, you should. But you literally don't know what the fuck you're doing. I mean, there was a clip, and I actually don't know if I played this particular video, but there was actually a part when they're talking about Chadwell being arrested and held and, potential connections to the Delphi case. The reporter says, it's not verbatim, but he basically says, investigators are hoping that Chadwell will talk to them so that they can determine where he was on the day of the murders. Which, to me, I wanted to just scream and shake my fist because Chadwell knew not to talk to police. Because Chadwell was a lifetime violent criminal, or at least for a lot of his adult life. He was unwell, I think, but he was a violent piece of shit. He knew not to talk to police. If he had told the police, yeah, I was in or around Delphi on that day. Let's say that James Brian Chadwell said, I went for a walk on the High Bridge trails that day, and I left at 1:30 or whatever time we think. Do you think that Rick Allen would be sitting in jail right now? I don't. I think that James Brian Chadwell would probably be their bridge guy. I think the only thing that they needed was somebody to say that they were there or nearby. They needed to, or somebody who couldn't refute it. If Chadwell talked, Chadwell's never getting out. He got 90 years. And Gabe Ellis is never getting out because he killed 2 people. So he's got 2 life sentences. I wonder who you could be thinking of, Percocet. Yep, Richard Allen gave them the hardest part of the investigation, proximity. Because what are they saying about all of the third-party suspects? We can't put them on the bridge. We can't put them there that day. A white guy who said he was there that day is really what they needed. And none of these criminal pieces of shit were going to do that because they fucking know better. They're not going to talk to cops. Innocent people talk to cops. Guilty people also talk to cops. But this is why we always say, don't fucking talk to police if you're guilty. Definitely don't talk to police if you're innocent. They got so lucky with Rick. Did Gabe Ellis take a plea deal? Or did he or will he go to trial in that? I have not followed that at all. That it's not even a case. It's like multiple criminal acts layered, and I mean that it's just awful. I tried a few months ago to look into Gabe and what was coming up, and it was just yep. Elvis Field wasn't at the trails. His phone sat at home for 9 hours untouched. Well, it's good enough. I'm gonna be John Weaver. Oh, okay. I want to play something. Thank you, Judy. That reminds me. Hope this works.
Just had a citizen stop by our area, advised that the girls have been found in the water. Can you confirm that? Negative. We have no confirmation of that whatsoever.
Who's next?
She's muted. Okay, I unmuted. I just wanted us to hear that scanner audio. Were you able to hear it? Yeah, so Matt and I have talked about this a lot. I think different people hear different things on that scanner. Some people hear just had a, I don't know, but what I hear is the way that I envision that radio call on right before the girls were found or when the girls were found is you've got the command center at the fire department where the sheriff is. And then you've got searchers, first responders, fire, police, EMS out looking with radios. So somebody in close proximity to where the girls ultimately were found radios to the sheriff, who is at the command center a mile or two away. And this fire chief EMS, somebody with a radio, says, "We just had a citizen stop by our area." What does he say? Let me go back. I want to get it verbatim. He says, "We just had a citizen stop by our area, advised that the girls have been found in the water. Can you confirm?" Tobe says, "We have no confirmation of that whatsoever." And then this first responder says, "Oh, I thought I played the whole thing. Fuck." I do have the whole thing, though, and I do want to play it, so give me a second. Okay, I found it. So I want y'all to hear this. An unidentified citizen reports to an officer or EMS or whomever probably at the staging center area that the bodies have been discovered in the water, is what they say. This person who radioed in would also, so the unidentified citizen would also distance himself from the information by claiming that John Weaver told him. So the way that I hear this, and I'll play it. Actually, let me just shut up and play it first.
Just had a citizen stop by our area, advised that the girls have been found in the water. Can you confirm that?
Hang on, I fucked it up. 1 second. Let's try again.
We believe you are hiding in plain sight. We likely have interviewed you. We know that this is about power to you.
Where's the fucking radio? Did I miss it? No, it's coming. Where is that call? Did I miss it? What is going on with me? Or is it at the end? It's at the end. I'm sorry, y'all. Here it is. Okay.
Just had a citizen stop by our area, advised that the girls have been found in the water. Can you confirm that? Negative. We have no confirmation of that whatsoever. He advised it was a John Weaver that told him that information. We have no confirmation of that whatsoever.
I'm sorry, that took me forever. That's what I wanted us to hear. Uni. So the way that I understand or envision that call and that interaction is a citizen who's not John Weaver approaches a searcher or first responder and says, "Hey, first responder, this John Weaver guy just told me that the girls were found in the water." And then he scurries away because I don't believe that they say who the citizen is. DB is going to be so mad because he just popped in 2 minutes before I'm about to try and get Boone to go to the bathroom. But that's okay. He's going to... I shouldn't have warned you. So, Lindsay, you and I have talked about this before, I think. And other people hear something different. Other people say that John Weaver is the one that said the girls were found in the water. I tend to hear that as somebody approaches the fire, EMS, police who are at that staging area on 300 North by Mears, because that's where they were doing most of the staging, which is eerily close to where the girls were found, by the way. How did they know? The girls could have been anywhere. We'll get into that another time. Somebody approaches the staging area and says, "Hey, I just heard the girls have been found in the water." And the person, the first responder probably said, "How do you know that? What do you mean? Who told you that?" And he says, "Oh, John Weaver told me." And then he kind of scurries away. Exactly. This is kind of how I see this. Now, I know I'm being a conspiracy theorist here. Yeah, somebody just dropped by our area, said John Weaver told us. Yeah, he advised that John Weaver told him. Okay, so yeah, exactly. So what's your name, buddy? John Weaver told you, but who's you? So that to me has always been suspicious. Only because I do believe the girls were found. I do believe that there were kind of breadcrumbs leading to the girls. The clothes in the water, I believe, were put there after the girl. You know, I don't believe they just traveled down the creek and ended up there. I do believe that they whoever killed the girls wanted them to be found at a certain time. Everything to me feels intentional. The phone being placed the way it was placed. I gotta take the dog out, y'all. Hang out, cool your jets. I'll be back. Don't go away, but you can if you want to. Just be cool.
Am I the only person in the world talking about attacking the timeline? Because, like, am I in crazy world? Like, I can't be, right? I mean, attack the timeline.
You never know what treasure the world could bestow upon you. In a moment, you think you're getting $180,000 in 1971. But what you end up acquiring is the greatest knowledge of linear time. Don't focus on the forensic value of ballistics, firearm, tool mark evidence. A guy said he was involved. We don't know what time. Time is a flat circle. Everything we do, we're going to do again.
Am I the only person in the world talking about attacking the timeline? Because, like, am I in crazy world? Like, I can't be, right? I mean, attack the timeline.
We're already attacking it. We can't attack it anymore. We're exhausted, dude. Hey, does this sound louder? Does this sound like it's a little bit better sounding? You said play the Werecat? Which one?
I want to give you a hug. Are you fucking insane, dude?
Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey, I don't have to say who this is and everything because you already know because it's a real voicemail. But just wanted to let you know I was at the drawer handle store and a Chelsea handler and I picked you up some more handles. But I just ran into Fiend earlier and I just wanted to call you and let you know first that you have that show tonight at 8. We'll have everything ready for you. But he was really upset. I didn't know who one of his friends was. His name was Richard.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey, I don't know why it hung up. It looked like it cut off or something, or you stopped it. I'm sorry if I'm annoying you. Just so you know, you got a live show tonight at 8 p.m. We have the coffee for you. Be bringing that by, and then we also have the avocado toast. But I really just needed to call you to fill you in on what happened with Fiend. If he calls, don't answer. Just block it. Because I think he's really upset about something. I don't know.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey, if I told you something, yes, you're immediately jumping to something that like means nothing to me.
Yeah,
Like
look at
that's not relevant to anything, dude. Like I mean, I to anything, dude. Like, bro, like seriously,
Seriously,
are you fucking insane, dude?
Down, bro.
I want to give you a hug and give you like fucking mental health care.
he says, what evidence do we have? Constance for Gallon. So, like, to me, that's always been as limited as they make us. This is our case, this case.
I mean, you've got phones on his
Right.
phone.
I don't need to post Alan a rat. Because, like, am I in crazy working line proof is by attacking the timeline. The timeline is the timeline. All right, he's got to attack the timeline. Attack the timeline. Let the third party culprit stuff. Attack the timeline. The way that we get to the truth by attacking the timeline, that's all they stuff. Attack. He's got to attack. Attack on the timeline based on what I know. 8, state of Indiana. Time. He's got to attack and attack on the entire. Yeah.
Oh my god, was I on mute?
Hey, it's Ange. Leave a message and I'll get back to you.
He's got to attack the timeline.
Attack the timeline. That's what you do. Attack the timeline.
The writ.
Attack the timeline. Not the third party culprit stuff. Attack the timeline. Attack the timeline. I've been saying that forever. That the way that they win this case, the way that we get to the truth is by attacking the timeline. The timeline is everything in this case. The timeline was set in stone, and that's all they've based a timeline. The state's entire timeline is attack the timeline. If you attack a timeline, it's attack the timeline. Third party culprit stuff, attack.
He's got to attack the timeline.
Like he's got to ask Holman, like, what did you form your opinion in terms of when and oh good attack on the timeline based on what I know. And that's all they've based a timeline. The state's entire
The writ.
Yeah. Attack the timeline. That's what you do. Attack the timeline in this case.
I'm back. Hi. Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Hello, DB. Welcome. Welcome to your channel. That was great. Bob is brave. So I need to start doing like an intermission video or something, because clearly we went on our walk right before we commenced this live. What should our inner Boone was attacking the timeline? Yes. Okay. So the point of all of that, the reason I wanted to go through just some of the, oh, one more thing. So the next timeline focus video I want to do, I want to kind of, well, maybe not. Maybe we'll just talk about it right now. So we know that Kegan Klein was a primary focus of the Delphi investigation for a significant amount of time, is what we've learned. We know that he first came onto the radar of Delphi investigators in February 2017, but in 2020, August 2020, he was arrested, and I believe that from Kegan's arrest in 2020 until this missing tip of Rick Allen just fell from heaven into their lap, I believe Kegan was their primary focus, which means they had Kegan in jail in Miami County. Well, not they, Miami County prosecutor had Kegan in jail. Delphi is trying to find any connection, and yet they're still having to rule out, or whatever they're saying that they're doing, when new potential POIs come to their attention. But given the fact that Kegan was at least in part an important person to the investigation at the time, right, in 2020. With that in mind, July 2021, 3 months, so Chadwell is arrested and kind of becomes a topic of conversation related to Delphi. I want to say, what, April 2021?
Who the fuck is Chadwell?
Oh my God.
Oh, some people are saying I need to turn my mic up. Is this louder?
No, it's perfect. It's great.
But is it adequate?
It's adequate. It's perfect.
Okay, sorry about that.
No apologies needed. April 2021.
Yeah, that's the fat guy, huh?
Chadwell?
Yeah, he's the fat guy with the burner phone or whatever. No, Chadwell's the other guy with the bad haircut.
Yes, with the like wannabe Peaky Blinder fuckboy haircut that really just looks very fuckboy alt-right. But
fuckboy alt-right. Well, actually, I think it was pre Peaky Blinders. I think it was more of a Brad Pitt in the movie Fury look.
Yes.
And you know, it's unfortunate. There are some people that can go, "Oh, Brad Pitt did that. Let me do that." I don't think Chadwell's one of them dudes.
No.
However, I do know some people. You know, just look over here at my Abby. You know, that could pull off a look like that. You know.
You have the haircut for it, DB.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
went to Great Clips and I said, "Hey, give me the Chadwell," right?
Yeah.
And she said, "Excuse me?" And have you ever have you had the occasion to go to a Great Clips
I've
before?
had an occasion once or twice to go to a
Well,
great.
let me
a
tell
great-
you. I wasn't asking about like the whole thing, but so when you were at Great Clips or Jude's or Sports Cut or Fuck Your Shit Up for $10 or whatever they call the place, you're always surrounded by men going through a custody battle. they're always in there. They're fucking dope outfits because the first time they're gonna interact with another grown woman for the week.
Mhm. Yeah, they gotta go pick their kid up at cheer practice after.
Yeah, after.
That's amazing.
And
It's
their
so
son,
true.
their son is a cheerleader, and that's fine. But they just have a problem with it. They got to talk about it. And they got to talk about how the mom pressured the kid into doing cheerleading.
Yeah.
She just doesn't get it. And her new husband,
Mm-mm.
he's a finance director for the local used car place.
Oh, she's remarried.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn.
Yeah, anyways, I'm sorry. I was getting a little too personal there, but
It's okay. It's all right, DB. We want to hear about your visits to Great Clips. We think it's interesting. So, do you remember this? This is rhetorical, obviously.
yeah, I remember this.
You do?
That's what I was saying.
What do you remember about it?
Well, just he's a creepy little fuck, and he had a weird tattoo, and Tobin was involved. Okay, I remember that Delphi murder investigators imposed information blackout on possible suspects who killed 2 teenage girls. So that's interesting. Is take your freedom of speech. You're not even charged with anything.
Well, let's see what they mean by that. So this is 3 months after Chadwell's first named. People are convinced that he's the suspect of the week, but at the same time, we also know that
he's a suspect of the week or the week.
Week.
Oh, suspect du jour.
The suspect du jour.
What year was he hot in the news as a suspect? What was he in season?
Who's he?
Chadwell.
2021.
21.
Yeah, he was first arrested for attempted murder and kidnapping in April 2021, and then almost immediately, as soon as the news even mentioned Delphi, he was like the suspect for months until they imposed this information blackout 3 months later. So, can I read it, or do you want to read it? I'll read it. You read it. I don't care.
Can I just read this real quick?
Yeah.
Something else that you didn't list as an option, sorry. Who Dis says, Rozzy is in the same office as Icky. Icky was Ron and Keegan's attorney. Rozzy should have inside info from those. You would think, right? Except for, I don't think they did it. So what fucking inside info can you get from them?
Well, and Icky was not there long. He was there for a hot minute, and then he left in like pretty early in 2018 and made it. So he wasn't even there for a year. So I don't know like how long and how closely they worked,
Yeah, and so, sometimes you work with people like, I work with a lot of people that don't like me. So it's just
impossible.
I'm like got a bag of chips. I'm getting ready to check out somebody out, and they just knock it out of my hands. So it's like you don't ever want to share information with all your coworkers. Maybe you do have some good information, but maybe you fucking hate your coworkers. Maybe they don't like each other. You don't know. I think it's pronounced Acal.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, I'll go from the top there. I wasn't calling you out who it is, but it's a good point. A Delphi M dash. Carroll County imposed a total blackout on releasing any information about possible persons of interest into the investigation. The February 13th, 2017 killings of teenagers, Libby German and Abby Williams. You know that video we watched the other day? I don't know if you want to pull it up, but we don't have to do that, actually. You know what?
Which one?
Well, just does that one with Rich Nye. We don't have to do that. But like it's a what? It was a 20 It's like a 2-minute long video, right? Maybe 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Depends, but yeah.
I fucking kid you not. The last 45 seconds are them like, the 2 girls were killed in Delphi, and like, guys, people are watching this, listening to this story because they know that story. So they took up like 35 or 30%, 33.33333% of the time of the whole story, just like going over that again, which is the most important thing of the whole story. Don't get me wrong, but like, if you're gonna cover and review the story, just maybe add another 30 seconds on, maybe talking about other parts of the case that are interesting and the budget, because that's what the story's about.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of things that they do there that give me pause.
Yeah. Pause indeed. Someone said mods, the royal we.
I know. I think she was doing a funny, but I missed it.
I like looked and I realized like I'm on here. I shouldn't be worried about that right now.
Travis Williams, our dear friend and brilliant solicitor, says, Angie's live last night, Gina, he saw on replay. Oh, yeah, we went through the transcript that Criminality got from the June 2023 safekeeping hearing. Everyone must listen to that. That was the first time I actually saw it and what the court told the defense to do. Yeah, Judge Gull literally gave them a directive. They followed her directive, and she screwed them. She lied.
What do you think about it, Travis? What kind of new insight? Because I feel like you've been kind of like on the same page as everybody, and I wonder now if you have even more of a dug in perspective on that. Okay, anyways, sorry. No further comment on Mr. Chadwell or any other suspect will be afforded in the foreseeable future. Carroll County Sheriff Tove Liaisonby said Wednesday when the Journal and Courier called asking for follow-up information about James Brian Chadwell. Well, he does have 2 first names, so that's not a great look.
That's not good. That 3-name, he's already got a strike against him.
Yeah, I heard that was the dark triad now. It wasn't even arson, animals are totally fair game. And then what's the third part of the dark triad? Making videos about a character from 1971 that you're acting like you are. Chadwell was accused of attempted murder, kidnapping, and something very fucking bad, just as bad as attempted murder, probably, in Lafayette. On April 19, Chadwell lured a 9-year-old girl into his house at 714 Park Ave in Lafayette, beat her, and then took her to the basement where he did an SA on her, and that's according to prosecutors. Okay, why are we reading that? Okay, there's more. Police looking for the missing girls found her locked in Chadwell's basement, according to prosecutors. Are we doing a Grey Hughes right now? Or are we just going over the worst shit ever, dude? Just reading it for like 60
I didn't want the
seconds.
details. I just wanted this part about Chadwell.
My bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because the allegations against Chadwell include luring a girl away from safety in the public's view, the Journal Courier asked Liaisonby if Chadwell was investigated as a possible suspect or person of interest in the killing of Libyan Abbey, who were lured from the trail east of Delphi. At the time of Chadwell's arrest, Liaisonby said they were aware of him and he was being looked at, as are other possible persons of interest. Well, fucking thanks, bro. Like, all right. Who's this guy over here? This fucking blue man.
You know why I think that
Looking
ad?
at
You know why I think I got that ad? Because I made that stupid fucking video with that song, that blue.
Oh,
man
yeah.
song, and now I'm getting blue man. Like, I don't like that.
Wow, that's true.
Okay, But I think that's pretty much.
How did you feel about Chadwell at the time? I know you're real fixated on one particular person's your reputation.
I wasn't
But
actually at the time. So in April 2021.
yeah, you were probably still looking at
What was I looking at?
Never mind. I was thinking of.
Tell me. Give me a second and he'll pop in. Yay!
I didn't know if you were still doing a white
Doing a
supremacy investigation at the time, but
in April 2021, that was a year before we even filed our lawsuit. I started my research in actually probably around that exact time, because I remember Chadwell vividly, but I don't remember any of the suspects we talked about before him tonight. So yeah, it was probably that exact time is when I started following. And I thought that he was a really good suspect. But I also
why?
Because he lured a young girl in the middle of the day in the area where he lived into his home. He did something very brazen and very high risk. I believe he had substance use issues. He was violent. I thought he looked like him. I thought he sounded like him. I was convinced that he had a tattoo of one of the girls, just like all the stuff that at the time, yeah, he does sound like him. So just like all the reasons that we kind of like, do a confirmation bias. But I mean, I didn't fixate on it. I was just like, oh my gosh, maybe he's the guy. But then I remember I was getting a haircut, not at Great Clips, when that blackout article came out. And that is probably when I was first like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are they an information blackout? They live in an information blackout. Like, they never tell us anything. So I just thought the whole thing was very weird. Oh yeah, and he was living under a bridge. Yeah, I thought it was very weird. Why? What did you think of Chadwell?
I think I was in a Missy Beavers hole at the time, actually, around that time. I took a bit of a break. Travis in Colorado. Travis from Colorado. How you doing?
Hey, Travis.
Fiend, don't
Welcome,
talk. We
guys.
don't care.
Fiend, we do care. But I do want to ask you, Travis, to extrapolate, if you will. Well, first, how are you, Travis? We'll wait for your audio to.
If you can hear us, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
That's
oh my gosh.
That'll be an issue for this, but we'll
Hey,
figure it
Gene
out.
the Machine. Travis, I don't have audio for you. I don't know if you know that.
Maybe things are rough in Colorado right now. We don't know. I'm not there.
Are
Fiend,
they? What's going
Fiend,
on?
have you been to Colorado?
In the past, yes, I have been to Colorado.
How is it out there?
I particularly like doing whitewater, like rafting.
Nice. I did a whitewater raft in Colorado. No one asked, but I did.
Were you there December 26, 1996?
Who, me or Fiend?
Fiend.
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
Man. Dang, I don't know, man. That could be. No, it's probably a couple of years before that.
Go lay down.
Hi, Bubba. Can you say hi to all your friends? Say hi. Spooky. I don't know what he needs. He honestly has no needs. All of his needs are met. He's been fed. He's been walked. He's been watered. He's been bathroomed. He's been loved. He just wants attention. So, sorry.
He's
go
here
ahead.
to tell. Yeah, he's here to tell you to attack the timeline.
If I could add something, I would say,
Please.
attack the timeline.
That is interesting, actually. I do have the occasion to attack a timeline.
So,
Sup,
why-
everybody? Am I interrupting?
Oh no! Hi, Travis. We can hear you now. Welcome.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I was just commenting earlier that last night's episode, I watched on replay later in the evening. The Cowboys were playing. And I'm actually on vacation this month. Every month, my family would go to our place in Colorado. And so I watched the Cowboys game. And then I'd never seen the transcript of that June 23 hearing. Quite illuminating.
What do you feel about it that I'm guessing you kind of assumed, listening to Criminality a lot, listening to this channel, other channels, you kind of put it together, what was talked about and what people were talking about. What was particularly surprising to you after you had gone through and consumed somebody either reading it or reading it off the screen yourself?
Well, so Sleuthy had gotten me some stuff that I was putting together regarding that motion in limine regarding ballistics and how that all went down. And I couldn't remember, did the defense file a motion to get the evidence ruled on pre-trial that it was valid and admissible, or did the defense file a motion to try and keep it out? Anyway, she got me all of the stuff and laid it all out. And then she also said, and in June of 23, she told the defense to pursue Franks. I went, oh, interesting. And then seeing the actual transcript, which I hadn't seen before, and I don't know if they went through that at a different time, but anyway, it was the first time I actually saw it, and I'm like, wow, the way she worded the thing, I agree with the way you all analyzed it and presented it last night. She told them, yeah, file the notice of the Franks, and then we'll do the suppression. Um, and of course, you're going to go along with it.
Well, on
Everybody's
that,
new in the
going along
case.
with it, if you,
What's that?
I just want to ask you on the topic of going along with it, in your experience, when a judge invites you to file a certain type of motion, does that mean they are amenable? They are thinking that maybe it is more appropriate, and therefore they're kind of giving you, I guess, what she would do with the state a lot of the time, or what judges do with the state a lot of the time, is kind of give them a hint or tell them in innuendo that maybe it would be better because you have a good shot at a Franks, because it seems like a higher burden than a single suppression here on one issue.
Well, typically, yes, but in criminal, there are just some things that the court wants filed and done because everybody knows it's coming, and so they want to time their docket. It's hard to give different examples. It's not necessarily that they're trying to graph, this is your argument, and I'm on board with it. It's not so much that as it is, look, we know at some point you've got to file a motion to suppress a search warrant or a statement, whether presumably and hopefully the judge hasn't prejudged it. They haven't seen it. They don't know. So they're like, just based on the basic nature of the case, that, and about all they have is a probable cause affidavit and for the arrest. And okay, well, there's this evidence. Now we know that there's some issue essentially with an affidavit in support of a search warrant or affidavit, cause affidavit, have to be addressed. You're going to have to file it. So let's do this all at one time. I think last night you even mentioned that, DB, that, you know, I think in a text actually that popped up on the screen, because I didn't have the replay of the chat, but I think it popped up that, you know, it's kind of making sense. So it's more like they're telegraphing, this makes more sense logically. It makes more sense. I think you mentioned that it's not a waste of time to consider this motion. I'm going to have to consider motion that has the same issue. So let's do it all at the same time. And then, you know, like the one thing that didn't pop out in your all's discussion last night is that a Frank's motion is really a request. And if you on the issue of Frank's, and you have to show a minimum amount, and if you show that minimum amount, you're entitled to, if you don't get a hearing, it's reversible later on.
Hey,
And
Travis?
people, yeah.
You're breaking up a little. I want to just make sure. I want to repeat what. Oh, there he goes. He'll be back. I want to repeat what Travis said, because I think what I heard him say was, if you're not, oh, there he is. If you're not granted a Frank's,
I thought he said attack the timeline, but yeah.
Yeah.
and then it's
so,
reversible. Oh, hey.
Yeah, if you're not granted at least the hearing. Now, the judge may hear the witnesses, but so she's like, file your notice. And it's not even really a notice. It's you file your motion, and basically what the motion is to show the court enough that you're entitled to a hearing in order to show that, exactly like what you said last night, that there are errors, lies, misrepresentations, or material omissions is what it ended up being in this case. Frank's is usually that there's lies in the affidavit, either
Right.
for arrest or in support of a.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we froze.
Colorado's
That's
rough.
helpful. Well, so it sounds like, and this is kind of what I think a lot of folks have kind of been frustrated about, is that the burden, like Judge Gull seems to be applying this insanely difficult to reach burden for the defense, where she's not even granting them a hearing. She's,
You can hear this, and I'll.
oh, there you are. Hey, Travis, sorry.
Pop back in. And yeah, let me get to
Where he's going to go skiing real quick, I think.
I think he's going to get to a spot where
Colorado has great skiing. Great skiing.
Yeah, it does.
Well, it's something that's bothered me about the Franks. A lot of people say, well, they don't have enough information to prove that there was an omission from an affiant in the PCA. But for me, it's like, how many Franks hearing are there that you get to make a record? Because yes, this judge may not approve it, but you give them a hearing because they get to lay out all their facts, and be able to see in an appeal, maybe they get convicted in an appeal, either, well, I don't know about a direct appeal, if that would touch on that issue, but they would definitely need to I
got it.
have
Only
an
one person
occasion.
calls me Angie, so we're good.
Well, it's people figure it out.
I know who that is. Go ahead.
So the idea that, just because you don't have a winnable issue, like Travis was saying, the judge doesn't see your whole hearing or your whole evidence before you file the motion and before you present your evidence. So I would imagine that there would be things that she'd be surprised at. And she doesn't have the same level of, it's not necessary for her to go through every single thing like she's prosecuting the case.
She
So
thinks she is, though.
no. I don't think she knows shit about the case, to be honest with you.
Well, right.
But yeah, I agree that she thinks she's acting like a cop for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think she knows enough about the case to even.
She's
I
not
don't think it
interested.
matters to her.
She's not interested.
Well, she could. She could know stuff about the case.
Well, she could, right? That is true, Fiend. I do think that is something she could do. I think that
I think, yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Well, I just think that it's, even though she could definitely be a better judge as far as being on top of the cases that she has, as far as knowing the facts of them and the legal issues that are forthcoming. But there's a reality to probably being an Allen County Superior Court judge where you're slamming 4-day death penalty cases that doesn't happen unless the system allows you to. I think she's definitely not somebody that we want because of those things to be a judge. I don't want somebody like that to be a judge. But I think there's a reality to how much a judge in a more metropolitan area like that is probably doing multiple violent felony cases every month in a jury trial would be really difficult, I feel like, to learn all of that. But it all comes back to, this is the most interesting and important case in the history of the state for the most part. I mean, other than maybe when Mike Tyson's case started there, but that's obviously a very different case. But just because of the pop culture significance of it.
Oh, I agree with all that, but I mean, besides that's all, like 100% agree with you on all of that. But she could know more than she's supposed to know. That's also a possibility.
Oh, so you're saying like she could know more than she's even acting like now, and she's already.
Well, I mean, there's like I think there, like, a lot of people have like this misunderstanding, like they think that like the entire discovery in the case that the judge has gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and they know everything that's going to be presented, and like that's just not reality. That doesn't happen. The judge will find out about the evidence the same time the jury finds out about the evidence most of the time. But it's possible that like there's always the possibility of improper communications, ex parte communications, that she knows more about this than she should know.
Interesting.
Welcome back, Travis.
Hey, sorry. Wi-Fi up in the mountains can be sometimes great, sometimes not. No explanation. Sorry about that, but
that's okay. Well, I'm hearing you
loud. I happen to have the occasion to be in a mountain time or two in the past as well. So,
that over in Oregon. This is Colorado.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Should be a lot better. But I found $100 bill the other day in the woods. So
in the woods.
You're welcome.
Thought about you.
You DP. That's awesome.
going to send it off for DNA, see if you made it that far. But
Uh-oh.
So where were we?
You made a really good comment that I wanted to like repeat to make sure I heard it correctly, and then I and then we lost you. I think you were saying that if they're not granted a Franks hearing, then that could be reversible, I think is what you were saying.
Yeah. So, DB had asked, if the judge kind of clues you in on, to filing a motion or whatnot. And, I think you all nailed it in your analysis and discussion of the way the transcript was in the June 23 hearing that led into them filing the Franks motion. And then I was just making the comment that people lose sight of the fact that the Franks motion, the first step is you have to show the court enough that you're entitled to a hearing. And you have to get to that point first. And if you make the showing, the court has to give you the hearing, and you determine which witnesses you're going to call. Typically, it's going to be the person who filled out the affidavit in support of the arrest, the probable cause affidavit, or the person who filled out the affidavit in support of a search warrant, and try and establish that whatever they've put in there is untrue, or in the rarer case that there are material omissions. There's so much left out that it creates a false impression for the judge reviewing it. And yeah, it could be, it's not unusual at all for a judge, especially in federal court, but it's not unusual for a judge that's knowledgeable and knows how this stuff goes to lay out, if they, for example, one that comes up all the time, do you see, do you think you're going to be filing a motion for change of venue in this case? Mm-hmm. And because judges know, good ones, that what's required for that, what's necessary for the defense to prove that. And so they may say, DB, something like, well, if you intend to file that, it would seem to me it would make more sense that we did that before we looked at these other motions, whatever they may be. Because depending what the court determines in those will, and so could it be baiting? Like, okay, so they filed the motion in limine on ballistics, which is really a misnomer. It should have been on the tool mark evidence, but be that as it may, it didn't impact the validity of the motion. But it's motion in limine regarding ballistics. And then she was talking about the suppression. I don't know, was there another motion on file at the same time that it was suppression of
the fruits of the search? Yep. Okay. It was the first. So they filed one in May 2023, and then they filed another one with the right before the Franks. So this was the first one.
So she's saying, well, okay, they found this gun in the search. She didn't say it, or I didn't see it in the reading of the transcript. If we're going to be pursuing a Franks and I grant a hearing and ultimately grant the Franks motion and toss out the gun, we really don't need to worry about ballistics and all of this other stuff. And that is very true. But she told them, hey, look, I'm going to hold that in abeyance until we deal with these more central issues. And then clearly she didn't like the way the Franks was worded, and things just really got off track there. And then, and there's no question that they got off track. I heard some discussion of it last night about, okay, well, we have all of these motions and they're not in public, and so we're going to come up with this other system that I'm going to, none of it authorized. And that was the subject of the first original action, which was handled by, I nicknamed her PFD, that was handling the stuff about the filings and whatnot. And but one of the things was somebody, redacted the Franks motion, and it was all redacted, and that's how it got posted. And PFD in the first original action, it was really interesting. She said the redaction of that motion is completely wrong. There's nothing in there that's subject to sealing. They didn't do it the right way. They didn't file the green sheet. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. And then she proceeded to attach as an exhibit to her petition for original action an unredacted copy of the Franks motion as an example. And most people have forgotten about this or never maybe even knew about it. But she said, look, this is what they're trying to say is confidential, sensitive, that they shouldn't be doing. She went ahead and attached the unredacted motion, and nobody even commented on it. And as everybody will recall, her lawyer said, yeah, you got all these problems. What we need to do is just acknowledge it and moot it, meaning agree, fix it all, which they did, but not one gripe or complaint about, she's attached unredacted Franks. And then after they fixed everything and then filed a response and said, well, remember she threw the clerk under the bus? And said, this was all the clerk's idea. This had nothing to do with me, and we fixed it all. And
if I'm not mistaken, Travis, I believe Kara has said that in reality, they really only fixed like a percentage of it was like the checks in the mail. We will fix it, and in reality, she really didn't. But it was enough to kind of moot it.
Yeah, they, and then Sarah, her PFD's response was, well, yeah, they did a bunch, but there's still more that they need to do.
Yeah.
And you can't, in essence, my take on her reply was that you can't trust these people. And then the court said, well, we disagree. We're going to dismiss it. But then they went on, that was like one paragraph. And then they went on for 5 paragraphs. This is a reminder laying out exactly what they were supposed to do. But getting back to the question, is that common? Yeah, it is common. They're not really telegraphing the what they think the merits are, but there's nobody that would disagree with that and say, no, Your Honor, we insist you go forward with the suppression motion right here and now, when the judge is giving you time to get it in the best possible shape you can in terms of presenting it.
Yeah.
Of course, you'd say, yeah. And then I think the transcript said, okay, are you ready to proceed on the
Safekeeping.
Safekeeping? And so it's just interesting. So, she never told the state, hey, look, okay, we're now at the stage where this isn't abated any longer. You're going to need to respond to it. Or when she put in the new attorneys saying, look, this is what's pending. We know that she reviewed everything and looked at it because she sent that order out to the new attorney saying, if you want a hearing on the Franks, let me know and I'll give you one.
Yeah, if you decide to adopt this crazy thing, okay, I'll give you a hearing on it.
Oh, by the way, prior counsel filed a motion in limine on the ballistics. I need to know what you want to do with that so I can let the state know if they need to deal with that or not. And then things didn't go the court's way, let's say, in terms of her removal of the attorneys based on whatever she based it on in that in-chambers discussion. The court said, no, you can't do that. We're putting them back in. And, I can't add anything to what y'all said last night about the court deciding to keep her on the case. I think y'all were spot on with that, but boom, they're back in within 2 or 3 days. She issues orders on all of those things with no opportunity for defense counsel after being reinstated. I really expected at the time, I was very optimistic and very hopeful that the court would set a status conference and get everybody in. And okay, you don't even mention what's gone on. You're professional and you move on. And but no, it was issue all of these orders that never really got considered, that got considered differently than what was offered to the replacement counsel that were in there briefly. And boom, the contempt hearing, which that's the one thing, DB, where I would say, I don't know, but it just seems to me it would be highly likely that there was some sort of communication, wink, nod, nudge, nudge about from the court or the court staff to the DA's office or somebody with the DA's staff about same sort of thing. Well, what are you going to do on contempt? Because, it was discussed in the order granting the second original action.
It's bizarre that, because Nick at first, he seemed like back in when the leaks first happened, he was obviously upset and making accusations and stuff, but it seemed that Gall was going to take it into her own hands and take care of it, and it didn't seem like Nick was going to be trying to file anything back then. And the facts didn't change that much from when Nick decided to file it and before they were even removed. So it seems like Nick would have known if he was dead set on getting them removed or having them found in criminal contempt, you would think that he would have started that process right away. And I think that you could say that maybe the ISP didn't have a lot of the stuff back yet. They didn't pilfer somebody's private Google Drive yet to get the communications between the attorneys. And so, maybe that has something to do with it. But I do feel like that is just a very strange diversion that we went down for a couple months there.
Yeah, the only thing that gives me pause about it is that, they went through this whole thing and, I think the defense, but it wasn't the defense and the contempt. It was, Andy and Brad, they're the defendants, which is why normally it's filed in a new case with a new case number. But the judge put it, and Michael's talked about this, and I certainly can't add anything to him. I mean, he actually did those briefs and those awesome footnotes, but it just seemed to me to get off track with all of the social media stuff. But in any event, be that as it may, all of that stuff gets hashed out, and judge rules, no, you didn't prove the standard that you needed to prove, that it was intentional. So I mean, it's just bizarre, really
Also
bizarre.
known as acquitted, right?
And it just, what's that?
Also known as you were acquitted of the crime that you were alleged of, right? You were found not guilty. She says the state didn't meet their burden. It's
Well,
very
on the
weird.
contempt, she said you didn't prove what you needed to prove under contempt. Nick, needs to be knowing, intentional, whatever the standard was, and you can't show that they knowingly and intentionally or directed someone to knowingly and intentionally to violate a court order. And
so there's no crime.
So we're done. That's over. And then I thought, oh, okay, well, now maybe everybody can move on. But then, it just descended from there with the court saying, I'm not gonna correspond by email anymore because my emails end up attached to motions, and the somehow, some way, it became known that the defense and the state weren't conducting business by email anymore. I've never seen that, and in much more contentious prosecutions than this.
Well, I have heard you say a couple
pretty
things.
Pretty flabbergasting.
Yeah, and I've heard you've had some criticism about that, how the defense handled the contempt with some of the people that called, and I agree with some of that too. I think there's definitely a strategy that they were using that maybe not everybody agreed with, but I did hear you say that you thought, well, they had the opportunity. When people bring up the lost evidence, you say they had the opportunity to go into that more during that hearing. And I wonder, is what was said in that hearing admissible in the other criminal case? Like, I know the case action is inside of it, but like, even if they were to go and depose Mullen, which they did, I mean, it is pretty material that the evidence went missing in the murder case, and they did talk about it a lot in the direct criminal contempt case. But why didn't they talk about that more? Why didn't they get an expert on data recovery, or that somebody from that vendor or that company that was an expert that could have came in and gave some technical analysis? Like, would that even gone into the trial record for the murder case?
And well, I don't know. I was lagging a little bit. I don't know if it's fixed itself, but we talk, with that defense fund, we may not know everybody that they've talked to, because they were starting to get reimbursed apparently, and so that gave them a fund without everybody knowing. But to your point, the judge put it in a procedural posture, how she wanted to proceed procedurally. Let's start with what she referred to as notice of Franks, and then go from there. But she didn't go from there. And so, yeah, why didn't they do certain things earlier? They proceeded to go forward with what the judge told them her pleasure would be. I'd prefer, we went with Franks first if you are going to be filing Franks, and then we'll go from there. And then they never had a chance to go from there.
One of the things that it was just good for me to reread the June transcript from 2023 after the most recent July and August hearings took place, because the context that we didn't have back then of exactly how critical the situation was with their defendant, with Rick in DOC, the fact that Brad and Andy, and really Brad, I feel like kind of like took this on, while Andy probably, as it appeared at least, was more kind of preparing the case for trial and dealing with all that. Brad was really like, his focus, like he was in DOC for months trying to get Rick out, trying to figure out what was going on, trying to protect him. And the amount of like crisis that they were under, I imagine that when they finally, they requested this safekeeping, this emergency hearing in August, and she sets it for June. So by the time June comes around, it's months later, they're probably just like, whatever you say, judge, just let us fucking get our guy out of DOC, is kind of how they would probably be quite agreeable given just the nature of what they were up against. And at the time I was critical, like, why aren't they being a little bit more demanding and insisting on what their client is entitled to? But now knowing, they were probably like anything to maintain the favor of the court, to get the most important critical evidence heard so that he doesn't die. Like, it was like an impossible situation, I feel like. And it's just, I can't imagine like the frustration that they were probably feeling. I mean, that's just kind of my perception, at least now.
Travis, in your experience, what would you do when you had an untenable situation with the judge? Would you fight fire with fire? Would you start just filing whatever you could? Or would you try to, be tenable?
Well, you're not supposed to be wrangling with the judge. You're supposed to be wrangling with the DA. And so now you do enough defense work. I mean, as surprising as to, as it is to many, many people who are observing pretrial procedure that, let's say, are leaning more towards the defense, but you look, Karen Reed, and, I can go on and on and on. And people are just utterly shocked at, oh my gosh, the judge is doing this or that. It's pretty typical that you're going to lose most of your motions. I mean, it's just the great cases on the Fourth Amendment and Sixth Amendment and on and on and on of the 60s have been whittled away over the years, starting in the 80s. A lot of those protections have, been whittled away or exceptions created, and, it's just not as strong as it was. And so you typically lose a lot of those, and, you don't get sideways with the judge based on their rulings. You just file what you can, and you might become more aggressive and fight fire with with the DA, but that's who your opponent is. And if you've just got an antagonistic judge, one that's just a real problem, you really can't do anything until there's an opportunity like that finally arose with the filings and the secret filings and the violation of the Access to Court Records Act, which was handled in the first original action, which they obviously designed to work in sequence, one to build the record for the second, but that's all you can do. And then, typically the judge would be removed if it was granted, but they've kept the person on. There's just really not much you can do but to do your best and hope that you can present your theory of the defense to a jury. But there's a case, and fortunately all of the transcripts are available, and there's a couple of movies about it. The Chicago 7, and Huey Newton, who was removed, and then it became the Chicago 6. But the Democratic convention in '68 protests, these 6 guys were part of SNCC, student youth groups, demonstrating against the Vietnam War, and then other groups about civil rights. They go to Chicago and organize demonstrations and parks. It became violent, and they were arrested federally and charged with inciting riots in Chicago. And Bill Kunstler, one of the greatest criminal civil rights defense lawyers of all time, is defending one of these defendants along with other lawyers with this judge up in Chicago. Just a horrible human being. And Judge Julian, and you can get a pretty good accurate flavor from the movie. It's within the last 10 years, and it's a good movie. But you can also read all of the transcripts about how this stuff just really went down. And one of the defendants was Tom Hayden, who ended up becoming an elected official in California, and others. And they were facing huge time. But Kunstler was held in contempt so many times by the judge. He was facing like 12 years hard time for contempt. And just how biased the judge was. But long story short, later on, reasonable people, a new election, a new Justice Department, went in, the appellate court, the Seventh Circuit, threw out all of the contempt stuff against Kunstler, and they dismissed all of the charges against those defendants. But I mean, it can get really, really bad. This, in the relative scheme of things, isn't bad. Just she's making rulings that, taking shortcuts and not waiting, like Judge Canoni did in the Reed case, to actually hear what the evidence is going to be from the experts before she rules on it, or the third party evidence before she rules on it, that just getting a description of things and making hard and fast rulings that nothing's going to come in on Odinism or this or that or the other, and then putting in that added language at the end that defendants can make an offer of proof. That language is just can't say it today because I need some water, but it's just total extra bullshit that you're absolutely entitled to make an offer of proof. It's in their rules, like everywhere else, and she's got to sit there and listen to it. And because you waive your appeal if you don't make the offer of proof, and the purpose of an offer of proof is for the judge to hear it and go, oh, I didn't know that's exactly what you meant. That part of what you're saying, that is admissible, and I'm going to allow that. And one of the methods that you can make an offer of proof, you can either do it by summary. I expect this witness to testify to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Or you can do it, in Texas, you have the right to do it by question and answer. And they excuse the jury, you put that witness up there, and you're asking questions of the witness, and you go all the way through it. And then the judge says, I'm standing by my decision. But to say, oh, you can make a offer of proof is really meaningless. You have the absolute right to make an offer of proof. But the rulings, they're very much hamstrung. You all have heard Michael talk about, in his opinion, based on the rulings, not so much the third party suspect, but the theory of defense, which that's the part of the motion in limine where they strike not the individual names, but categories of evidence like Odinism and other things like that go to the integrity of the investigation, the bias of the investigation. He's of the opinion, and I would agree, if that occurred in Texas, where you can't attack the investigation like the way they did in Reed. Reed, they were denied third party suspect. They couldn't point to particular individuals in that house, but they were allowed to go into in-depth. Why didn't you go up and talk to the people in the house? Why didn't you knock on the door? Why didn't you get a warrant if you were worried? You knew that was the house of a police officer. Wouldn't you want to know if they saw anything particularly when there's a dead body in their front yard.
Yeah, I think
they
in
were
that
able
case,
to go
it's
into.
really helpful that you have the people that are investigating you being the third party suspect, because you get to start with the issues in the crime or the investigation itself, and it kind of plays right into your third party suspect, right? So I don't know if that's actually technically more normal that way. Well, I guess this is not a normal case at all, like in general, but
You know, it's hard to do third party suspect in any state. You got to jump through a hoop. Some it's harder than others, but you know, you got to show a direct connection, and it can be quite difficult. You know, some states, you know, you got to meet 3 requirements. You got to show an opportunity. So, you know, there's the timeline thing. Then you got to show a motive, and then you'd have the odinism for the motive, but then you got to show a direct connection. And that's where a lot fail. That you've got to have some evidence, a witness that says, yeah, I saw that person in that coming out of that area at that precise time, or his phone was there, or his driver's license was there, or his DNA is there. That's the hard part. So that still doesn't preclude you from getting into, you don't need to mention the name of anybody. Elvis Fields, Ron Logan, I don't know, Brad Holder. I keep hearing those names. You don't need to. You don't need to say, well, wasn't Brad Holder? You can say, did you, you know, investigate other suspects? Wasn't there a theory that this could be connected to Odinism or other similar religion? Did you investigate people with that background? Did other investigators have a different opinion than you as to what the profile would be? Did other investigators feel that other people, and you don't need to mention the name, needed to be checked out more diligently? All of that is fair game, and you saw it in spades in the Karen Reed case, and they didn't violate, and not one objection was granted regarding third party to any of that type of questioning.
right. So let's.
And
I appreciate you going into this. I forgot that we brought you on for safekeeping stuff, and so I do want to go back into that. When I know we originally started talking about when you actually looked at that safekeeping stuff again, what did you think about the treatment of Richard Allen? Was it surprising to you, or did you already know those allegations?
Well, you know, I really haven't dug too deep into that. And, you know, it's been interesting to me to hear mental health care professionals, present company included, talk about their impressions about, you know, the drugs that were used, when, you know, those types of drugs are prescribed, and, you know, under what type of circumstances. But you know, things are just way different in prison, and having, you know, defended governmental entities or people that work in jails and prisons, including the staff nurse or the staff doctor, staff dentist. It's just a whole different playing field on what you have to provide to an inmate.
Well, because they've
And
been found
it's
guilty, right? So they have less, I would say, but yeah, less rights. Their due process has been exhausted. Well, they probably have some, most of them have a direct appeal when they first get there, and they have maybe a PCR or whatever they want to do later. But a nurse is going to be able to give drugs in a different way to somebody that's in a jail versus a prison. Usually they don't even have the same staff because of how different the things are. It would be a headache, I would think, to be treating or just have somebody in your custody if you're a corrections officer that has a whole different set of rights. And I think that's a difficult thing to parse for them in real time, like tasing him. They may just think in their head, "Oh shit, I got to tase this dude," and they go, "Oh shit, he's he's not a prisoner. What am I doing?" But in your experience, and you don't have to talk about specific cases, but when does that bar for a prisoner to negligence for, say, a healthcare professional? When is their a piercing of the qualified immunity for their actions? Is it just complete, absolute, ridiculous negligence outside of their duties?
Well, that's exactly it. It's qualified immunity. So most states have sovereign immunity. So it prevents a inmate of a county jail or a state prison for suing for any sort of negligence that unless it's a rare state that waives sovereign immunity. But in general, a citizen who's injured due to the negligence of the state through a state actor, whether it's a faulty sidewalk and you trip and fall, or get hit by a bus, or you they fail to diagnose a malignant melanoma and you die of cancer from a prison nurse or doctor, can't sue the state. Most states waive sovereign immunity for car wrecks and bus accidents and that sort of thing, but they limit it. They put caps on it. But so the only way you can recover is to file a federal civil rights suit, a Section 1983 suit, which state sovereign immunity doesn't apply. And so you have to get around qualified immunity. And so you have to show that negligence won't do it. You have to show, to get around qualified immunity, that it was a willful, deliberate thing, that the doctor or nurse or whatever healthcare provider knew that withholding treatment or a particular treatment was going to be harmful. And the other standard, if it's withholding treatment, is deliberate indifference. And so the most common one, and where you see people in jails, jailers, mental health, where they get super excited and jump up and start taking really good notes and doing all kinds of things, is, the federal case law is pretty bad for jails and prisons on inmate suicides. If an inmate says, when asked, have you had thoughts of hurting yourself? And they say, yeah, I have. I mean, it initiates all kinds of protocols, and it and they're really good about that part. You know, they have all kinds of policies, all kinds of
weird
procedures, and because if they have threats of that and nobody does anything, and then they end up deceased in their cell, that's deliberate indifference, and that's, you know, you're going to have a successful civil rights suit. But if they do respond to that, do certain things, sadly, it doesn't take much to get qualified immunity. You know, if you do take some sort of action. I was actually a bit surprised by how much
play people have gotten into
access
Indiana.
he had. Walla.
Yeah, I think
It
that's called a
seemed.
clue.
How often was he, or how often was he going to her, or how often was she seeing him? It was more than weekly, right?
Yeah. At one point, I think she kind of alludes to at least once a day that she was like checking on him, but she also, the same breath, acknowledges that they didn't have any, like all of the sessions were in his cell or in cage sessions, or, you know, cell door front or whatever they call it, which is not policy. That's not protocol. So it just stinks to me. It doesn't add up to
Yeah.
anything.
So it doesn't take much, and then, you know, violating their own policies. Of course, those policies get written by the legal teams for the prisons to make sure that they're complying with state and federal jail standards, and to get out of trouble, stay out of trouble with the Department of Justice. So they have all of these policies that say all of these things. And like most things, what's actually happening is nowhere close to what the policy says is supposed to happen. This one, they outsource, and you're seeing that more and more and more. They're outsourcing to groups, and the groups love it. Groups love it because they're protected by qualified immunity, and you know, it globally across the country, and you know, it's just not really a good picture. And so was I surprised? No.
It's not for the citizens for sure. Having contractors that aren't as they get to partake in qualified immunity because they're acting as an agent of the state or on behalf of the state, but they lack the actual oversight oftentimes that a state employee would have. And I think that in states like Indiana, when you have these contractors that are, you know, not hiring, you know, no one makes it to the top of their field in psychology and decides to join as a DOC counselor. That's just the reality of it. Those jobs are extremely low paid in those fields. Is a difficult job, but the reality is those contractors exist to outsource the liability of the state.
Well, they're covered under the same protections.
But when they
So
get sued and
even
they
though
they
they,
lose, it doesn't say, you know, the state of Indiana. It'll say Centurion loses. So there's a built-in
yeah,
a layer of protection for the state, I feel like.
well, the state's got the highest possible protection you can have with qualified immunity, and you don't have to read through too many prisoner civil rights cases to see, you know, just how bad things have to be in order for somebody to recover. And then those same protections apply. 1983 applies whether somebody is an employee directly of the state or an employee that the state contracts to perform a function in the prison or the jail. So, but it could be clearly, you know, that it's certainly a lot easier. You don't have to go out and find the different levels of professionals to keep that staffed. But it, you know, what it really is, DB, is money, like all things. So, you know, a state employee, you got to fund their retirement. You got to
Healthcare.
give them all of the, you know, they're building up vacation, you know, they can build up sick time that has to be cashed out if they don't use. A lot of benefits that state employees have that it's much cheaper to hire a group to get those people, and then they're paying them whatever it is, you know, hourly. PRN, they're, you know, no benefits. They're, you know, they might even be a 1099 employee, but it comes down to it costs less money to hire a group to deal with all of those benefits or not pay those benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I louder? Okay, good.
But, you know, it comes down to money one way or the other, either avoiding liability or avoiding having to pay the benefits. And I, you know, I think that's true, you know. Prison dentists, nobody goes to dental school to be, and so most of those dentists are on a contract basis, but Ange will know more about this. I mean, it's in the psychological literature. There are some top psychiatrists and psychologists that have, not as a career, did their PhD or their, you know, master's based on research that they've done in state mental institutions and jails. There's a lot of top quality research papers on that, but you're right, it's not done typically by career people. It's people early in their careers that have a research interest, and they go on from there.
Yeah, and they've not burnt out yet, or they need a certain number of years of experience doing something before they can do what they want to do. Like, there's a lot of, it's kind of like a means to an end, I think, a lot of times for like healthcare.
But there's
providers.
particular I don't know enough about it, but for example, in the 70s and 80s, was a lot of research being done in prisons regarding like ADD, and they were discovering, a real high percentage of the nonviolent offenders had some level of ADD, and they'd get bored, and one way you channel that boredom is into stuff you shouldn't be doing, and that's how they ended up in prison. Or they self-medicating experimentally with stimulants, and that's how they end up in prison. But a lot of the breakthrough about ADD and what might work better in adult ADD actually came out of prison studies. And you've got this population, and assuming it's ethical, and they agree to be part of the study, and and it's ethically done with their permission. But outside of that, I think you're right. And even if it's really good doctors and really good, the only way to make money on those contracts is volume, doing the absolute minimum necessary to comply with the contract, whatever ethical requirements you have. But you're not going to make money on the contract if you put a provider in there that is
inexplicably
spending
seeing
3
one person.
times the amount of time that you estimate. We have a long way to go on the way we incarcerate people in this country, and the way we take care of people who are incarcerated, whether it's county jail or haven't been convicted and they're awaiting trial, or prison. But you hear the way people talk, a lot of people are just not sympathetic that jail or prison is not a fun place, or that, and I totally disagree with this, but that you don't get the bare minimum, even medical, dental.
Yeah, agreed. It's atrocious. And we see and hear a lot of that in the community from people that have opposing views to us about how they think people should be treated, whether they're guilty or not. I think that basic human civil rights should apply, even if they don't have some of the same rights as a citizen, regardless of what they've done. But the crazy thing too is we were talking about the major cases earlier. Just you were talking about court cases and judges, and you had mentioned the way that certain civil rights have been whittled away over the last several decades. And something I want people to take into consideration in the community is we'll say stuff that just like easily comes out, where something is a fact that you have to do as a police officer, like read somebody their Miranda rights, and that's simple. You're just telling them that they have the right to remain silent. We all know what they are, and that was a 5-4 decision. And of course, that was several decades ago, but I think it was in the 60s, right? But these cases that advance civil rights for people, there's dissenting judges in those cases, and those judges have cases every single day, and they've had cases on their docket when they weren't in an appeals court or in in a state Supreme Court or the United States Supreme Court that they're making decisions on every single day. And it's scary to think about something that seems like such an obvious decision for those judges back then. Now thinking that, there were literally people that could disagree with something like that.
Which I didn't hear the name of the case. You said 5-4.
Oh yeah, it's this little case. You might have heard of it. I was saying Miranda v. Arizona.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Yeah, these are
that's really very, very, very interesting case about Miranda, and but
Terry Frisk. I mean, it's a different, it's
very, very, very close, part of the Warren Court, and it survived Rehnquist. He said, that he wouldn't have voted that way, but now it's so of such precedential value that it wasn't worth overturning, even though he thought it was decided wrong. But yeah, it was a very, very close case. And in that era, you weren't entitled to an appointed attorney in a felony case, except if they were trying to seek the death penalty. I mean, Gideon was from the 60s, and in certain states like Florida, you were charged with a felony and could go away for 5-10 years for robbing a vending machine, a Coke machine, and stealing the quarters. Could get 10 years, and you weren't entitled to a court-appointed attorney. And if you couldn't afford one, you had to defend yourself. A lot of that stuff was only about 20-25 years old when I started practicing law. But the length of time in our jurisprudence, it wasn't that long ago that we decided everybody's entitled to an attorney, whether you can afford one or not. Why it's so important, and why states like Indiana have a public defender commission, which is run by the state and reimburses counties if they choose to follow the minimum guidelines for public defenders and the experience levels, and be on board with the guidelines that the commission has adopted. They're entitled to a 40% reimbursement of their public defender costs. So that's the carrot. And then there's the public defender, the one that Hennessy's been on forever. It's almost identical name, public defender, not commission, but counsel. And I may have those reversed.
It's like IPCD or
but
something
the
like that.
Public defender counsel is defense attorneys, and they're all about educating and providing resources for public defenders. And Hennessy's been on that from the beginning. Texas, they just started having, in the 80s, 90s, all the way up until, 2010, we're having so many cases reversed. They finally saw the writing on the wall and said, we're going to establish public defender plans, and you have to meet minimum qualifications to handle death penalty cases. And we're going to do all of these different things differently, fix things on the front end, and because it doesn't serve anybody to have all of these cases reversed, all of these exonerations, all of these wrongful convictions. Doesn't the victims or their families are impacted the worse. And it's just surprising how long it took for some states to figure that out. Some states not so much still.
Yeah, I
But
couldn't agree more. That's something that people don't look at in this case enough too. I think the pro prosecution people don't realize that there's going to be issues that are going to be litigated for decades if some of these things happen, because he's not going to get parole. He's just going to get back in court if he gets convicted on some of these things. I'm sure in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years, there's going to be news about him being close to, going, is he going to get a judge to certify that he can have an evidentiary hearing on this now, because the law changed on XYZ. And I think it having it ethically from the beginning and having due process upheld from the beginning is what really gives finality to cases. And I think there's no like finality, even if there's a conviction, because there's going to be so many issues that even if you don't think they're going to win, there's plenty of pro prosecution people that think that it's ridiculous that people think that there's going to be anyone going back into court on this case if he gets convicted, and that's not the case. It's gonna.
Well, I've heard from people, not just Michael, but from some former longtime prosecutors in Indiana who are pretty concerned about the motion in limine being granted on the general areas like Odinism and going to the potential bias, tunnel vision of the investigation. That I heard the comment that Nick may just have asked for too much, and you got to be careful what you ask for. And
yeah,
you see that every once in a while, and what you see when that happens is that the state does what we call confesses error. And it's not that uncommon. Maybe 1 out of 200 criminal appeals, the state's filing a response to the brief that, yeah, we confess error.
It's had a real bad one in Missouri. The Marcellus Williams case.
Yes. So, and then sometimes, the top court just said, well, we disagree. We don't see error in that. And, there been a few cases. What's the name of the young man? Is it in Pennsylvania? No, Maryland. And is it Aiden? Yeah. And the new prosecutor, we see some problems. And then it finally got, he was out ready to go, but they didn't let a brother of the victim or something say something that
they didn't give him enough notice to appear in person.
Required to hear, but doesn't have to act on it. So it's got to go back for that. And it's the trappings of law. Which is one of the reasons why I come on channels like this is, it's got to be entirely frustrating, regardless of which side you're on, about, the trappings of the law and, how can this be, is to try and put a little foundation behind it and to get people looking at both sides of the issue, why the law is the way it is. Some people are so entrenched it doesn't really matter, but it's there's a reason why you have a right to put on a defense,
Right. Well, I appreciate your time, Travis. I know we could talk to you all night, but I know that we got to get this thing.
Yeah, I
shut down
just
here.
wanted to pop on. I got to get going anyway, but when I first came on for a minute, I put a comment in that the show last night was really enlightening. I'd never heard the actual transcript before. I just had heard from Sleuthy what it was, and she actually understated it when she told me, by the way, it was the court that led them down the path to pursue Franks, and then actually hearing the words, and then somebody responded to that and said, I'd want to hear more about that. And I said, replay last night's episode, especially about the part where they're reading the transcript and the way that went down. And then the next thing you heard about that motion in limine regarding ballistics, which is in turn what the state's motion in limine regarding Tobin relates to, is that motion sat dormant until from June of 23 until
January.
3 days after they were reinstated in January, where she summarily denied it and then went one step further. It's really important to actually read the order denying it, because it's not just denied without hearing, it's denied, and the opinions and the certificates of analysis, Exhibit A and B to the motion in limine, are admissible. And so it's going to be quite interesting to see how she deals with that. I mean, is she just not going to allow them to put on experts? But DB, I know you were part got that spreadsheet that Sleuthy had been trying to get that same information from the Carroll County auditor for months and months, and then all of a sudden a television station, I think it was a different one than the one you showed the other night, but they came out and said, it's costing this much, and they categorized it. They lumped some stuff together. There's a lectern for $80,000, and then there's the vast majority of it is for prosecutors. And then at the time, and then they said, go to our website for more details. Well, I went and there was nothing. And then I said, Sleuthy, they said there's details. I can't find it. And then boom, she had the spreadsheet. And then I know you had your spreadsheet with some notes on it, and it had Tobin in there and listed as a prosecution expense. So it's one of two things. Tobin wanted $5,000 for the state to take his deposition, and they had to pay a deposition fee, or it's a mistake.
I hope it's the former.
because Tobin was paid $5,000 in 2023.
But there's no corresponding retainer, by the defense. But some of that stuff would sitting around. I mean, they're big, long delays, but
And it might have been
the
ex
most
parte back then.
surprising thing in that hired 3. Well, but they had expenditures that were the subject of ex parte motions. I mean, we know that.
And Tobin's never been mentioned. And
so, I mean, there was a lot of valuable information in that spreadsheet because we knew what they were spending stuff on, whether it was ex parte or not. For example, the expert on the Perlmutter, that had to be an ex parte that didn't leak, and because it's listed as defense and the timing of it is about right.
That situation is crazy too, but yeah.
And then, something about that I'll let you address whenever the time's right. They're state experts on tool mark evidence that were clearly retained to address begins with a W. It's not right. It's the defense
Melissa
expert on tool.
Oh, Eric Warren.
Defense expert begins with W. I always say right. Warren. They've hired experts to address Warren and Tobin, which is quite interesting. Hired in the spring.
Yep.
Thinking there's going to be a showdown. Anywho, take a look at that. But
I've partaken in the look. I've had the occasion to look. I have lots of stuff on Tobin and lots of opinions. We'll have to talk about that sometime. I know Ange has to go.
Travis, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy when you're able to hop on, even on vacation. I hope you enjoy the rest of your trip and your time away and be safe.
So I got to go check the trash bins if our trash bins aren't bear locked.
Oh, yeah.
In Vail, you get a $500 fine. So
wow.
I got to go check and
go get that.
Make sure that. Yeah. So y'all have a great evening. It's good seeing everybody. And hello, everybody in chat. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
you. Talk
you.
to y'all soon.
We'll talk
Take care.
again, I'm sure, before trial. Bye, Travis.